cloud. Okay, there is Autumn, Sam. I'll let them in first and then I will let everyone else in. How are you, Griffin? Are you good? Oh, I can't hear you.
Sorry. Hello, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Good, good. Good to hear.
Eating lunch,
Guys.
so I figured I was gonna mute it.
Yeah, yeah. That's good. Okay, I will let everyone in now. Hello, everyone. I'm gonna take a peek and see if everyone is muted, and almost everyone is. Yes. Okay, good. So today, I think I will just start sharing basically. And I might share a couple of different things today. And why does not the right one show up? Let me see. Okay, I will just try this because now a couple of my screens are black, so I'm not really sure what they will show. Let me try this, or I will. Okay, I'm just gonna do this. Okay, can everyone see this?
No,
Thumbs up?
nothing up.
Oh, you can't?
No, me neither.
Okay. Let me see if I need to. 1 second. Oh, maybe I have to go remove this. You think you have like everything planned out and everything is like, okay, I got this, and now nope. Okay, let's try again. Can you see this?
It still looks black on my end.
Oh no. Okay, then I am not sure. Can anyone else?
I can't see it. Did you go up to the share, like the little arrow at the top, the little green arrow at the top of the
Yes. Okay, but I'm wondering if I'm going to try this then, and then I will just go over. I'm so sorry, you guys. I was making an extra presentation. Let me see if I can. And now, let me see if I can share now. Can you see this?
Yay!
Okay, I don't know what happened. Okay, so then I will not have the email. I will just go off the email from my phone, and then I will talk through because I had a couple of pictures that I wanted to show you guys as well. Okay, so what we're talking about today is embracing the long game and having data curiosity. Something that we and I have talked about before. And I will say it like it from two different perspectives. So if you're working with a coach, the data isn't necessarily for you. The data is for your coach. Because the thing is, as long as your body is responding really well, we don't really need the data. But when we do need the data is when your body is not responding as we would have wanted or as we would think it would. That's when the data becomes really crucial for us coaches to be anything else than a cheerleader. Because if we don't have anything you know, fact-based to go off of, all we can do is, you know, wish and hope and try our way forward without it necessarily being efficient. So for one, then, as I said, when you're working with the coach, the data isn't for you, it is for the coach. So I've experienced with clients, for example, where clients have told me that, nej, men nu har jag møtt vännen. Okay? Ja, Tanis. Where clients have told me that they no, I don't need to go on the scale because it won't change anyways, or I actually went on the scale, but I didn't bother to put the data in because it's more or less the same as it was yesterday. Or I see that there's no change on my body, so there's no point in me measuring myself. Like, that is things that I hear now and then. And that's when I say, like, when you are saying those things and when you're thinking those things, you are expecting to see in the now the end result. So basically, you're not wanting to see any data until you're seeing the data that, you know, where that aligns with the goal, basically. But all data and all small changes are going to be really important for me and us as a coaches to be able to know, are we moving in the right direction? Are we standing still? Are we moving in the wrong direction? What's going on? And also aligning that data with your food intake, with your movement, with your stress levels, with your sleep health, all of those things as well, so that we can see how much do you need to do for your body to respond, basically. So when I started writing this email, I had a scenario in my head where like there's a client, and there's not a specific person. This is something that I think many can relate to, but where a client is stepping on the scale, maybe doing it on a Saturday or on a Sunday, because that's when we kind of have the time. We're not in a rush, so we choose to step on the scale on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning. What we're not thinking about is that we had a couple of glasses of wine last night. We were out to eat. We ate higher fats, higher carbs. We had some candy. We went to bed late, you know, all of the things. And we might have also been to the gym Friday morning, you know, doing a killer session. So now, and prior to this Saturday or Sunday, we have like been really rigid with our food intake throughout the week, Monday through Thursday, done really well, stepping on the scale Saturday, Sunday, and it's like up 2-3 pounds from when you weighed yourself last. Maybe that was 2 weeks ago or something like that. And now you can't understand, because what you are imagining in your mind is like the week you have had. You're seeing the Monday, the Tuesday, the Wednesday, the Thursday, and you're not thinking about the consequence of that Friday night or that Saturday night. And when I say consequence, I don't mean consequences for results over time. I mean consequences in regards to water weight on the scale the next day. So you could have had a new low on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, even Friday, but we don't know that because all we know is what reflects your Friday, Saturday night. Not necessarily only that, but like that is going to be a part of it. So really important to get all of the data from all of the days, not just to see like, are we moving in the right direction, but what does it take for you specifically to move in the right direction? When I work with a coach, my goal is for that coach, because we're all busy, right? We all have very full lives. So we want to do as little as possible to be able to see the results that we are craving, so that we are able to use time and energy and effort into other values and things that demand our time in life. So what can we get away with but still see results? Or I'm in rush, like we need to be extreme. What does it require? So I wanted to show you, this is one This is scale data, the picture to the left, and this is waist measurements, the picture to the right. So and then we don't really need any numbers. What I wanted to show you is that, as you can see, if you're looking at the big picture of this weight chart, you can see that it's a downward trend, right? Like we all can see that. It started here and now it's here. Very often what happens when a client starts working with the coach, you're creating a new baseline, basically, when you start with all of the habits or some habits, and then you will build. So very often it can be so that the scale actually goes a little bit up before it goes down, as we can see here. So, but what I wanted to say is, like, what if this client stepped on the scale on this first day, and then she stepped on the scale on one of those other peaks here, and that peak, and that peak, and that peak, but she didn't step on the scale any other days in between. Then she would have come to here, and this is, let's say this is a month in. Here, she would potentially be a little frustrated because this number is basically the same as where she started, but because she has been stepping on the scale pretty often, we can see that, oh, it went straight down. That tells me that her body fluctuates pretty decent. And we can see that it did all along. And here it's the same as the lowest here. And then something starts to happen, right? We have created a baseline of habits, and now the results are starting to come. But if she wouldn't have stepped on the scale, she would have stepped on the scale there. And let's say then she stepped on the scale here, she would have missed this low that is pretty significant in regards to this. Here, something in her life probably happened that made her come a little bit out of routine. But then back into routine, and now it's trending down again. So that could also be that when she's here, she could be really frustrated because she's laying here. But then when we can go back, we can see, look, when you were staying consistent, focusing on your habits, this is what happened. This is the trend that we achieved. So we have achieved that once, that means we can achieve it again. So being able to have this black on white or blue on white, that can be a motivator in this phase to be able to get back on the horse, so to speak. And that is valuable data for me as a coach, not just to kind of get to know a person through the data, but also to be able to actually motivate a client with real facts, and not just being a cheerleader, basically. As we can see here, also pretty steep fluctuations on the measurements. This is a waist measurement, but we see we started out here, now we are down here. So it's a downward trend, even if there are higher fluctuations in between here. Here is another one. So this is a 3 month. 3 months. This is the weight chart. This is the waist measurement. As you can see, this client is also fluctuating pretty high. Why I wanted to show you this is because here I see a trend. That is also something that I'm looking for. And all the things that I'm telling you guys now, if you're not working with the coach, you can use the data for yourself in this way, as I'm explaining, right? So that would be how you use it if you're working by yourself. Then you kind of have to be your own coach, right? Where you have to use the data to your benefit. So when a client has a 3 month scale chart that looks like this, I know that, oh, she will go down and then she will go up, be here a little bit, then she will go down, then she will go up, down, up, down, up. You get me? So I can expect when I am here and we're moving downwards, I can now expect when I'm here that we're going to move upwards. We're not most likely going to continue moving downwards because this is the trend that has been before. So I know that this is what I should expect. Up, down, it goes all the way, even if it fluctuates a little bit, but it's still the same trend, right? And that is important. That can be really important for motivation, to know using what has been in the past to expect what is coming in the future. And if we want the future to change, then we also need to change our behavior or our action in some way. Not necessarily like in a huge way, but if we want to expect something different, we also need to change what aligns with that difference. Here you can see there's not a big change in her waist measurement, but it's a pretty decent change on her scale changes. This is the same client with a 6 month. This is the 6 months. So basically 3 months earlier. So we can see here, this is just wrong. This should have been up here. But as you can see here as well, high fluctuations, keeping pretty stable. The first a couple of months even, I would say we have the same number here as we had as we started, but we can still see that there is a downward trend on the lower ends of the numbers. That's where we can draw the line, like here. So those high fluctuations up here, they don't matter. In this big picture, they don't matter at all. These are just water fluctuations, inflammation potentially, from several different reasons, as we all by now know what that can be. That can be carb intake, sleep deprivation, being sick, stress, alcohol intake, dehydration, and all, yeah, and hormonal changes. There are plenty of different reasons. Different, intake that fluctuates highly can also be a reason. So looking at the lower numbers, there's a clear downward trend no matter what the highs are doing. And here we can also see that she was pretty stable on her waist measurement. Then it did quite a big jump, stable for a while, down, stable for a while. So now I can expect this to go, if we're looking at the trend of this waist measurement, I can now expect this to go down pretty soon. Within the next, I would say 2-3 weeks, I could expect that this is going to be lower when I'm looking at what's been in the past. So this is the reason why I, as a coach, and I think all of us coaches agrees on this, value this information. So for me, if you are here and you are thinking there's no point because nothing has changed since I was here, or maybe you did the measurement, but you're feeling like there's no point for me to add this into the app because it's the same as it was last time. So what's the point? The point is that I want to see all of these 3 markers because I want to see the trend. And then I want to see, does that trend replicate, or will there be another trend that comes along? All of those things are important, and this is how you can use that data for yourself as well. So maybe that won't be, putting it into an app if you're not working one-on-one with the coach, but you can still create your own graph, or you can just write down the numbers, and then you can see over time, are we moving downwards? Or are we staying put? Are we moving upwards? You can still kind of create your own graph, even if it's just with numbers, or if you're somehow creating, a graph on your own with like this, basically. But yeah, very valuable for sure. Are there any questions or anyone that wants to add anything?
I think it's awesome, Henrietta, when you start coaching a client who stresses concern about getting skill, getting the scale throughout the week just because it hasn't ever been a great experience for them. But then after some time of watching the trends, they come back and say, gosh, I really don't freak out anymore with the scale because either you have a better understanding of it towards, where your cycle is or the foods that you're eating or the lifts that you've performed, or in general, you just now see that the body fluctuates on the scale. And I think a lot of times we're not taught that. And so to me, it's really rewarding as a coach to trust me, get your scale weight multiple times a week, and then let's see what the trends are in 2 months. Who cares what happens acutely? Just we'll watch the trends, and for them to take a step back and say, gosh, that's not even that big of a deal. The scale doesn't freak me out anymore. That's what I love about multiple scale readings while being a coach.
Yeah, that is also something that I work definitely a lot with clients that are hesitant to step on the scale and have like a bad experience with that. And I do believe that oftentimes when the bad experience is happening is because we're not seeing all the data. We're just seeing a few pointers, but also because that we don't understand. We don't understand what it means. Like, what does the data mean? If when you have put on 4 pounds overnight, like what does that mean? If you go and if you like freak out and think like, oh my God, I gained 4 pounds, like then the freaking out for me, that aligns with, oh my God, I gained 4 pounds of fats overnight, like because that would be the only logical reason to freak out, right? Because fat's hard to get rid of, but water isn't. Like that's just going to play its own game, so to speak, and come and go. But really, and that is something that I've experienced, and I think all of us have experienced with clients, is that not being afraid of the data. Like it's such a freeing experience, especially if you are one that are using quite a lot of time on working with your body composition. Like just being able to use the data to your benefit and not being afraid of it is not only going to help you, but it's also going to make the journey and the experience so much more pleasurable. And you're not going to have these where you're like, okay, I'm going to step on the scale like 3 days from now, I'm going to step on the scale because like I'm curious, right? But then you're going and having anxiety about stepping on the scale like the whole week before, and then you step on the scale and maybe it's a number that you don't really, you didn't want to see that number, and now the anxiety goes over to depression instead. And like now I'm of course being a little like extreme here in my words, but instead of then not being afraid of stepping on the scale, knowing that, okay, if it is up, okay, how can I connect that to how was my days look the last few days? And then you can make something logical out of it, and then you can kind of move on. So I think it just helps the experience a lot. I also wanted to, and also pictures. I had a client, and I'm going to share this on my next Instagram post for Hungry Fitness. I have a client that this is an example where the scale has actually gone up. We are focusing on just fueling. She's a client that has been a little afraid. I would say that she's been a little afraid of eating, and she wants to build. So we have really been focusing on just eating and eating consistently. Like not being in a surplus or anything, but just eating a decent amount of food, high protein, and being consistent with that intake and not being afraid of that intake. And the fun thing is that now, just like September, like the last couple of months, her weight has gone up, what is it, around 5 pounds or so. And when I see her pictures from like before that and now, like her body has changed. It hasn't changed dramatically, but it has clearly changed in a positive way. And I think those are one of the coolest things to see when you actually have a client where the scale has gone up. She has not freaked out, so I'm happy about that. But we can also see that her body is changing in a positive way because she's active and now she's fueling that activity. So now the body is starting to respond. So it kind of goes back to like not living fear-based, right? Like we don't want to train out of fear of being sedentary, or we don't want to eat little because we're afraid of gaining weight. Or it's about like just the curiosity is a word that I use a lot, and I think it's important that be curious about what does your body need instead of expecting from your body. Like ask your body, like, what does your body need? Have you been feeling great lately? Have you not been feeling great? Okay, what can we do to actually make you feel great or feel better? Could it be that you are under eating? Could it be that you're not as consistent as you think you are? Could it be that you're doing really well on food and training, but you are really, really, really stressed? So that is kind of that's stopping you from getting the results that you should have been getting from how you're eating and how you're training. Like there are so many factors that we need to take into play. And that is why the curiosity of not just the data, but also the biofeedback and how your body's responding, and kind of get rid of our beliefs and expectations that might not be valid anymore. Maybe they are based in kind of where you've been in the past or experience you've had before, but it's not necessarily so that they align with now and how your how you have the work that you're putting in, but also where you're at in life. And this is when we have to think about accumulation over time of stress, for example. Something that we've talked about a lot before as well, when we had some results 10 years ago and now like 2 kids later and 3 jobs later, and and we got a dog, like our body's not, maybe it's not reacting the same way it did. And that would be very likely that it's not. And then we have to kind of build our new expectations that is based in the reality that we're living in the moment. So yeah. But that is also to kind of go back to those that client that I talked about. Like this is also why pictures are important, because sometimes the scale isn't showing us necessarily like a downward trend or a lot. Maybe even not. Maybe not even the measurements are showing us a lot. They should show us some if the pictures are showing us. But still, if we're having all of the different data points, then we're just better off, basically, because sometimes all the data will show at the same time, but also often it can be like, oh, we're not seeing a lot here, but that, like, the pictures are showing us this time around. Great. And then next time around, we're seeing like, oh, measurements are like really working here. And then, and then it can kind of rotate like that. And as I kind of mentioned a little bit, is check your environment is one of the like tips in my email. And that is, as I mentioned, you might be doing everything right with your training. You might be doing or actually being really consistent with your food intake. But that's when we have to look at the environment. Like, how stressed are we? What's going on in life right now? How many balls are we juggling in there? How are we sleeping? Are we having a good sleep routine? Are we getting outdoors? Are we thinking about our circadian rhythm? Are we thinking about next level of like getting cold in the winter, getting sun in the summer, so that we align our internal health with being able to be there for us, basically, when we want something from our body in regards to body composition change. Like those two things align really heavily. So when we're doing kind of all of the exterior things like that, and that's not enough, that's when we have to look at our environment. Like that's the next thing, that if we go like way back, that's the basics, right? But now in our modern world, it's not the basics anymore. Now it's more of kind of the extremes, even though it shouldn't be that way, but that's kind of how it has turned out. So so that is something that I see a lot. And I think that all coaches will agree with me that the environment that we live in, basically, really matters. And it matters different for us all. For some, it's you're good and you don't need to kind of dial into it. But for others, like that's the key. Like that's the thing the only thing you should be focusing on to be able to kind of set that lost puzzle piece of making the needle move, so to speak. So definitely worth thinking about. And having a habit tracker can be really, okay, this is going to be the last. I see that my time is up, but I'm going to say this as well. Having a habit tracker can be really beneficial if we are in a position where we feel like I'm doing everything right. I'm nailing this and I'm nailing that. And you have this bigger picture of like, why am my body not responding? And it's really frustrating. That's when a habit tracker can be really useful. And it's not necessarily that you need a habit tracker from the beginning, but if you are in the scenario where your body is not responding as you are expecting, that's when, as I mentioned in the beginning, the data becomes really important, and we can't have too much data. So adding in a habit tracker, then putting in, okay, what am I focusing on? I'm focusing on my morning routine. I'm focusing on protein for each meal. I'm focusing on getting in at least 3 meals per day. I'm focusing in so and so many steps, 3 to 4 workouts a week, a bedtime routine that's healthy. Yeah, for example. And then you can kind of cross off every day that you're managing. And then you will see after a week, how did I actually do? Because we have a tendency to glorify what we are able to do, or the opposite. I also have a lot of clients that are checking in with me where they are like, oh, I did not do great this week. Like this was, and then I'm like, but wait a minute, like you're checking off that and that and that and that, like you're checking off all, you're doing really good. So we either focus on what we're doing great, or we focus on what we don't, and we're not seeing the whole picture. And that's where a habit tracking can be really useful, to just kind of get a reality check, basically, in one or the other direction. We have 7 weeks until Christmas. I think Christmas is on a Wednesday. So on Wednesday, or if it's Tuesday, it's 7 weeks from now. So if you're in a position right now where you're like, oh, I would like to see a little bit more results, I don't really understand why my body isn't responding, like use a habit tracker. I have created a like super simple one. So you could just like tag me in the groups, in a group, and I can send it to you. Just like that could be the thing, that could be the key. As I said, like the environment can be the key, the habit tracker can be the key, the starting tracking can be the key, the widen of the perspective can be the key, stepping on the scale. Like there are so many small things that could be the key. In the end, what gives you the results is the habits, it's the lifestyle, it's the consistency over time. That will provide you the results, data or no data. But the data is the tool we use to be able to get there as efficiently as possible. And the more accurate the data is, of course, the more valuable it's going to be as well. So, yeah, I think that is something, hopefully, that can maybe motivate to start adding more data. Yeah, I've said it before, like for you clients that are not working one-on-one with us, but are in the app, put in your data, put it in as much as possible, because if you have questions for us, even like if you're a part of a cohort or not part of a cohort, if you have questions and we are able to take a look at your profile and you have plenty of data in there, we will be able to help you a lot better as well, even if you're not working one-on-one with us. So, or again, start using it as I now have kind of given you an idea of how to, so that you can use it for your benefits and actually maybe start seeing more results or quicker results, or maybe not that. Maybe it's just the acceptance of that, oh, this is going to take time, probably a lot longer than I think. It could be that also. So instead of then continue to be disappointed in not getting results quick enough, you are now actually like feeling, oh, this is actually pretty good, or this is to be expected. And that's a much nicer feeling to live with, right, than being frustrated all the time. So yeah, I think I will end with that. So hopefully I will stop sharing. And I'm so sorry about the mess in the beginning. That was typical, but yeah, I hope you still got a lot out of this and that you have a nice day. It's evening for me here, so have a nice day where you are. And yeah, tag me if you want the habit tracker. Okie dokie. Bye.